One of the creepiest legends to come out of old Scotland is the tale of Sawney Bean, whose cave-dwelling cannibalistic family ran amok in South Ayrshire in the 16th century. Bean, born Alexander Bean in East Lothian, had apparently had a vicious streak since childhood, which was exacerbated when he married a woman who was even worse. The couple set up housekeeping in a cave in Benanehead between Ballantrae and Girvan on the west coast of Scotland. There, he and his evil wife were the progenitors of quite a brood, 8 sons, 6 daughters, and 32 grandchildren, many of them born to incestuous unions. The Beans survived in their remote abode by waylaying travelers and eating them. Local villagers knew about the disappearances, and in fact sometimes would find bones and other assorted body parts. But in a case of, how dumb exactly are you people, it never occurred to them that the culprits might be a depraved cannibalistic group living nearby. The local authorities kept a suspicious eye on innkeepers and pub owners, who often were the last people to see the victims alive. But eventually, one lucky guy was able to fight the Beans off. His wife apparently wasn't so lucky. And he got back to safety and told the authorities about being swarmed by men and women who were intent on murdering him. King James VI of Scotland, later James I of England, launched an attack on the family, sending in soldiers to destroy them in their stronghold. The Beans were defeated, and those that were not killed in the skirmish were brought back to Edinburgh in chains. Most of them were executed, the men by having their hands, feet, and genitals chopped off and being allowed to bleed to death. The women were burned at the stake. One daughter, Black Agnes Bean, had escaped before the attack and was living in Girvan under an assumed name, but eventually she was found out as well and was hanged. So that was the end of the Beans. But what I'd like to know is, how much of it is true, and how could we tell if it was? One reason we might cast a skew glance on the tale of Sawney Bean is how many different versions there are. Sean Thomas wrote a piece in the Fortean Times and had the following to say: "From broadsheet to broadsheet, the precise dating of Sawney Bean's reign of anthropophagic terror varies wildly. Sometimes the atrocities occurred during the reign of James VI, circa early 1600s, while other versions claim the Beans lived centuries before that. Viewed in this light, it is arguable that the Bean story may have a basis of truth, but the precise dating of events has become obscured over the years. Perhaps the dating of the murders was brought forward by the editors and writer of the broadsheets so as to make the story appear more relevant to the readership. To add to the intrigue, we do know that cannibalism was not unknown in medieval Scotland, and that Galloway was in medieval times a very lawless place. Perhaps nothing on the scale of the Bean legend took place, but every story grows and is embroidered over time." While most versions of the story don't involve the supernatural, there is a paranormal twist to the execution of Agnes Bean in Girvan. Historically, Girvan was significant as the home of the Hairy Tree. According to legend, the Hairy Tree was planted by Sawney Bean's eldest daughter in the town's Dalrymple Street. However, when her family was arrested, the daughter was implicated in their incestuous and cannibalistic activities and was hanged by locals from the bough of the tree she herself had planted. According to the local legend, one can hear the sound of a swinging corpse while standing beneath its boughs. When you add to the fact that there's still an ongoing dispute in Girvan about which tree is the actual authentic Hairy Tree, and it does lead you to doubt the whole story. Another suspicious factor is the similarity of the Bean story to the tale of Christie Cleek. Christie Cleek was born Andrew Christie in Perth in the 14th century. He was driven to murder and cannibalism during the terrible famine that followed the Black Death that struck the British Isles in the 1350s. Cleek means shepherd's crook, apparently the tool that Christie used to pull down his unfortunate victims. Like the Beans, Christie Cleek and his family lived in hiding, feasting on human flesh and striking terror into the hearts of the locals. It has a different ending, though. After the famine eased, there were soldiers that were sent in to deal with Christie Cleek and his family. Christie himself supposedly escaped, although the rest of his family was killed, and Christie lived under an assumed name to a ripe old age. But the name of Christie Cleek lived on, and in that part of Scotland was sort of a stand-in for the boogeyman, used to scare children in tales around the fireplace. So the inconsistencies and variations in Sawney Bean's tale, plus analogies to earlier stories, makes you wonder. The most likely answer is that Bean and his savage wife were real enough, but that a lot of the excesses that were attributed to him and his family were exaggerations. About the veracity of the details, there's simply not enough hard evidence to be sure. It's a gruesome and fascinating tale, certainly one that sends a shiver up the spine. It'd be nice to know if it's true, but as with many things in the past, it's probably not possible. So, like a lot of folklore, we have to file it under who knows. If you like this video, please give us a thumbs up. Our resources are down there, and please subscribe to our channel. Thank you.